Hi friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tanner, and this is my Esoterica. Today we're going to be doing a timeless love reading for the sign of Libra. So this reading will be for whatever, Libra collective I'm tapped into today. Um, my readings are pretty specific. I like to use a lot of different oracle decks, as well as tarot, just to kind of give like the fullest picture that I can. So don't try to make this reading fit. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But your intuition will tell you, yes, this is hitting, yes, this is for me, or if it's not. So, definitely trust your intuition. Listening to me or any other tarot readers, don't try to force any messages to fit if they aren't. So with that said, we're going to start today's reading with this, what is it? The Archetypes deck by Kim Krans. And I've shuffled this deck in every deck that we will use today quite a few times until Spirit tells me to stop. It's usually, a powerful feeling in my right hand. I don't know how to explain it exactly. Almost like a jolt of electricity, I guess, almost, is how I would describe it. But yeah, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to use this deck just to see sort of like the overarching energy of stuff that's been going on in this connection for you guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's on the bottom of the deck here. We have the One. So right away, I'm getting the feeling that whoever you are connected to, you felt like they were the one, maybe your divine counterpart in some aspect. But this card was popping up here in reverse. So maybe there's been some sort of challenge to that belief I'm getting for you guys. I'm going to look at the... Oh! Well, that's fun. Sorry about that, my friends. Just knock you over real quick. Maybe this is a love that sort of knocked you off your feet, and something you weren't expecting. There are no accidents in tarot, or, in my opinion, during readings. So that was meant to happen for some reason. Let me just adjust you again real quick. It's frustrating because, you get it to where you want it and then you kick it over. Maybe that's something that happened with you guys in this connection. You had like a perfect sort of plan mapped out for it, and something came through, maybe some sort of tower moment with me kicking off this stand. Maybe a tower moment happened and it kind of shook up your view of how you saw this person, is what I'm getting. We have 10, 10, 10 here. This is 30, the One. But 10, 3 10s here, that makes me think of, reaching the end of a cycle as well. But let me look at the One. 3 and 0 reduces to 3 in numerology, so that's Empress energy. I feel like this is somebody you could resonate with being a divine feminine. But I feel like this is a connection that perhaps helped you grow in a way, forced you to grow in a way, maybe lean into like your divine feminine energy. You could resonate with being a divine feminine with that Empress energy coming up. Oops, okay, we passed it. So the One is non-duality, one love, and unus mundus. So our ability to experience this archetype firsthand is limited. It comes in brief and potent moments that we are left to savor for a lifetime. The One is both the energy that unites all living beings and our capacity to sense this intimate union. This archetype eludes us most of our lives, appearing as a concept in a distant galaxy. Yet when we are in the midst of its power, a solemn reverence falls across all the land. We glimpse ourselves in the vastness of all consciousness and are neither small nor large within that field. We are neither important nor unimportant. All duality fades away, and we are left with what is, the precious knowing that life is a gift, and we are both the giver and the receiver of this fortune. So I feel like this connection led to a spiritual awakening for you in some sense as well. And I'm seeing the cosmic egg from this animal spirit deck, which we will also get to after this one. But yeah, I feel like this was a really intense love that sort of shook you in a way that helped you ascend, especially if you know, experience a tower moment like what just happened with us. Um, so when dark, it says ignores, omits, and excludes. And then when light, it says serves, loves, accepts, and resonates. So since this came up in the reverse, it's giving me when dark side of it. So ignores, omits, and excludes. So I feel like this is a person who kind of shut you out. Maybe you're dealing with somebody who's emotionally avoidant. Um, and while you felt this really powerful, strong connection that sort of felt otherworldly, felt sort of like transcendent in a way, this person kind of didn't acknowledge it or didn't meet you where you were trying to meet them. It seems like, you know, they ignored you or excluded you or sort of just kind of pushed you and this connection away. Maybe they were a little too afraid of seeing their own light or their own, or facing their own shadows, is what I'm getting to. So, yeah, a very powerful connection, a very transcendent connection, but one in which, you know, the other person wasn't reciprocating, wasn't matching your energy, was ignoring you, was pushing you away. That's what I get for this card. And then we have the storm, which makes me think of the tower. Um, you know, me kicking over the stand. Hilarious, again, by the way, to me. But looking at this card, yeah, it looks like there's just like a lot of chaos here, a lot of sort of mashugana, for lack of better words here. It seems like with this lightning bolt kind of going through here, I feel like this connection brought a lot of realizations to you, like made you, maybe helped you understand yourself in some sort of way. But yeah, just looking at this, it looks very chaotic, and it looks like, you know, what a tower moment might feel like. So let's see what the storm has to say. This is 67. I'm getting better at reading the Roman numerals. So 60. Okay, here we go. The chaos, the whirlwind, the disorder. Tower moment, like we were saying. So possessing an energy much like the Tarot's Tower card. I can't make this up. It says it right here. Where is it? Boop, boop, boop. Anyway, the storm undoes all that is. Everything that was solid, known, and relied upon is stripped away by the winds of fate. The ground becomes the sky becomes the center, and then the center disappears. The storm is a great equalizer. No matter how far we've come on the path, no matter our age, wealth, or wisdom, we can't hide from its savage winds. Their disturbing howls stir anxiety. So this could be a connection that maybe you have sort of like an anxious attachment style, and if this person was pulling you away, that could have activated those childhood wounds that maybe you've been carrying around with you. Stir anxiety and make it impossible to see and think straight. You must wait it out. If you try to fight the storm, you will lose. So it seems like whatever is going on, perhaps you're going through sort of like, you know, again, tower moments, or and feeling really kind of chaotic inside. But the only advice that can help you weather the storm is to let it pass. Because if you try to fight it, you're going to lose. A better option is to seek temporary shelter and a reliable friend. When all else fails, go within. There, for a moment, you settle into the eye of the storm. So yeah, chaotic stuff going on, tower moments. It's maybe been hard for you to find your center again after this, because you had this vision of how things could have, would have, should have worked out between you. And again, not to say that this ending is completely the end, especially if you resonate with like twin flames or being a counterpart or being, again, a divine feminine, not gender specific, energy specific, just for the record. But yeah, it says here, When light, the storm is meaningful obliteration and annihilation. So also makes me think of ego death in a way. You know, getting to a place where you can release all those triggers and stuff that's been kind of holding you back subconsciously. Let's look at what's underneath the storm. The Judge, and it's crossing. And for me, when cards cross, I take it as, you know, traditionally in tarot, crossing cards are like energy that can either help or hurt you. For me as a reader, what I've started to gather is that when cards come up crossing like this is energy that somebody is consciously grappling with. So I feel like there's somebody here. It could either be you or your person. You know, you want there to be justice. The Judge gives me justice energy. You want there to be equal give and take, or you're trying to figure out with this energy crossing, you know, how can we make this equal? How can we have equal give and take here? Looking at this card too, I feel like somebody here is very sort of black and white in their thinking. And look, if you look at these hands, it's like somebody here is trying to offer somebody something, and somebody here is kind of like denying it, pushing it away again, which makes me think, you know, of that runner-chaser dynamic, that kind of push-pull that is so often a part of these sort of intense soul connections. I'm going to get to these in a second. But yeah, so I feel like you're wanting a sense of justice here. You're wanting something to, you're wanting, you know, your love to be reciprocated and not pushed away. There's a little skull here, which makes me think of death and rebirth, you know, tower moments. And then there's like an eye here too, like an all-seeing eye. Maybe you finally saw through this person. Maybe they were playing mind games with you. I'm seeing like 5 of Swords when I'm saying that. So maybe there was a lot of like conflict here. Maybe you felt like somebody was playing mind games with you, but you know, I feel like you're contemplating with wanting to make things equal, wanting justice, right? I'm gonna read the Judge. This is 14. 4 plus 1 is 5, which is, you know, challenge and change. Change that isn't easy when it comes to tarot stuff. Okay. So the Judge is the critic, the diplomat, and the advocate. So the Judge has an extremely important job. They work every hour of every day, helping us to discern what is safe, true, and just. When this archetype remains unconscious or is captivated by fear, maybe that's what this kind of crossing energy is trying to get across as well, wise discernment turns into painful judgment of self and other. So this tower moment could have made you start, again, questioning if this was your person. And maybe it's, you know, you've started to be a little too hard on yourself, and maybe a little too hard on this other person too. Granted, I don't know everything that went down yet. I might get some insight as we're going through this reading, but like, there is a sense of like being too harsh of a judge, maybe on yourself, is what I'm getting pretty strongly. So ironically, the Judge's energy can be the seed of racism, bigotry, and fear-mongering. This is the Judge out of balance, which it looks like, you know, this Judge isn't coming in upright. It looks unbalanced right now. Building walls, separating from other. When this same discerning force is made conscious and healed, however, the Judge may be found advocating for civil rights causes, standing up for the underdog, providing resources for those in need, and forgiving again and again. Love is the deciding factor. I feel like that is pretty poignant here. Love is the deciding factor. Awakening this archetype is essential for the complex times we are in. Get your Judge in order. The world needs it. So I want this card, I want you to think, from this card about the ways in which maybe you've been an unfair judge, mostly to yourself. Granted, we all react from trauma and wounding, and that doesn't make, if you went through a tower moment with this person, and they did something to harm you, that's not to say that that's ever okay, and that's not to say that you should just stick around and put up with, whatever kind of negativity has happened. But it's important that you don't let your inner judge become an inner critic, because people can only meet you where they're at, and you can only meet people where you're at. And we all have trauma, we all have wounding. So with this card, I'm really getting, don't be too harsh of a judge on this person, only in the sense that, like, of course, if they did something wrong to you and you want to make that right, or they want to, by all means. But what I really think this card is saying more than anything else is to take that awareness and add some compassion to it. And, again, remember that people can only meet you where they're at. And maybe this person that you're dealing with just has some trauma that they don't know how to deal with yet. Just like maybe this connection brought up some trauma in you that you didn't realize you were still holding on to. So hopefully that makes sense. Underneath these cards, and these are going to be the last two we look at before we pull one, Gnosis is knowing. This is like ego death in a way, and I love how that just slid off there. Spirit was like, whoop, we are going to talk about this one too. But yeah, Gnosis is sort of like, again, an ego death. It's sort of learning to see the whole picture. It's just kind of like an inner sense of knowing. I'm going to read from the book as well for this, because I feel like there are some messages that come out and I won't know what they should be until I'm reading from the book. I do have a general sense of what all of these mean, just for the record. I don't want people to be like, oh, you don't know anything? Yes, I know plenty. Thank you. That's my own inner judge, I guess, coming out. Or my own inner critic. But yeah, I know, but this is just helpful for me right now. And, helpful for you, because I'm able to deliver stronger messages this way at the moment. LXXB, so 50, 60, 75. LXX, almost there. Here we go. Innermost knowing, mystic truths. So again, I feel like I've talked about ascension with this card, and like spiritual awakening with this card. Like you experience a sense of ascension through this connection. So I feel like with this card, it's also saying that you have some sort of inner knowing that this is your person, I want to say, or this is somebody you were meant to meet. There's like a soul connection here, and you know that. That's what I get the most from this. So true knowledge is not found in facts and figures, in scholarly books on library shelves. Rather, Gnosis points to the deep and timeless archetypal wisdom that arises from the felt experience of having touched the unknown with every one of the senses, which is what this one card talks about. Those who are drawn to Gnosis find themselves in esoteric studies, so maybe you are a divine feminine, and you've gone through or are in the process of going through this sort of spiritual ascension. And maybe you're starting to kind of delve into the mystical and spiritual woo-woo world. Ooh, look, I matched these mushrooms. So you could be drawn to esoteric studies. Maybe you're trying to study tarot as well, or just kind of getting in touch with that side of you. Likely involving mysticism, alchemy, healing, or perhaps science. Knowing is their calling. Not knowing is their job description. No matter how far the alchemists take their studies, they come to the ultimate conclusion that facts slip toward mystery, and soon the mystery results in facts. This card signifies a knowing that is life-changing. Once you experience it, you are forever changed and become a guardian of gnosis. The eternal mystery is calling you. Study your passion in the deepest way available to you. And I'm pointing to you. So this is a call to embrace light work, embrace your mission. If you do resonate with being a divine feminine, a twin flame, a counterpart, what have you, you know, part of having to deal with all of this stuff is the journey of, one, awakening, of course, and two, stepping into your power to become a source of light for others, somebody who can help use their knowledge to help others grow and heal and evolve and find peace within themselves. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like you have a deep knowing that this connection was something special. It did lead to an awakening, and maybe there were some tower moments here that sort of shook you awake in ways that probably weren't comfortable. And then with this Anima Mundi card underneath, and I see an agape too. That one wanted to come out before. So Anima Mundi is the world in the tarot. So that is, you know, completing a cycle, learning a lesson. Also about ascension. It's the last stop in the Fool's journey through the major arcana. So from the Fool, which is all about being naive, but like being willing to take a leap of faith into the unknown, and then all the way to the world, which is the completion of a cycle. It's the elevation of the Fool from that place of naivete to, you know, gnosis, to knowing, and to being one with the universe, and yeah, just like having learned and completed a cycle. So I feel like this connection, 2222 just now on the timer as well, helped you grow and evolve and change, but it wasn't without its kind of push and pull. It wasn't without its tower moments, but it helps you learn and grow and level up. I'm not going to take that one that's trying to peep out here, but we are going to look at agape because it keeps wanting to come out and I can't ignore it. So agape is, I want to say like hope or wonder, devotion, unconditional love. So I feel like this connection has awoken a sense of unconditional love in you. And maybe you've had to get to a place where you had to sort of release this person, but it didn't take away from the love that you have for them. So agape, yeah, is devotion and unconditional love. So you could also still feel devoted to this person. So what if instead of putting yourself at the center of your spiritual practice, you put God, goddess, or nature at the center? How would this change your approach? Such is the energy of agape. It is alive when we are in awe and wonder, our breath taken away by the sacred force that surrounds us, and asks for nothing in return. This card can indicate a spiritual initiation that stretches your capacity to love and serve. So I definitely get the sense that this has been an intense soul connection, perhaps a twin flame, if you do resonate with that. I consider myself a twin flame too, so it makes sense that I channel these sort of connections. But yeah, I feel like this has been very powerful so far, Libra, but like, yeah. So this connection was an initiation for you to ascend and grow and evolve. And you can only really start it by feeling the complete and utter sense of awe and wonder, and like this sort of like the outer body kind of love and connection that comes through a twin flame connection, because you guys share a soul frequency. You sense the earthly as the heavenly, and vice versa. Such an initiatory moment can appear in any form, and like a healing balm to the modern soul, its effects last a lifetime. The agape card may also suggest you reassess what you worship every day, which makes me think of this judge card too, consciously or unconsciously. What are you elevating? Where does the sacred ladder you climb ultimately lead to? Your mission. And it doesn't have to be, it could be woo-woo, spiritual kind of gooky stuff, but it doesn't have to be. It can be anything that sets your soul on fire. It could be working with technology. It could be making music. It could be being an artist. It could be being a therapist, being a tarot reader, whatever helps you fall into like a hole of time where time doesn't feel like it's passing really. That's when you know you found your spark, your mission. So yeah, wow, all right, powerful stuff, powerful stuff. These nails make it hard. All right, so now you know we've got all that. Let's go ahead and try and get one card for our Libras for this connection, please, Spirit. What do you have for us for our Libras for this connection? One more. All right, let's see what comes out, please, Spirit, for our Libras. Oops. We got a couple, but Spirit was like, these ones. Okay, so we got 3. We got the fault line, the maiden, and the mirror. So the fault line also makes me think of that storm card we saw. It's about sort of standing kind of like on the precipice of change, and like once this fault line gives, there is no going back, but it's like you're sort of stepping on like cracked ice, like, you know, in those movies where like someone's walking on a frozen lake and then it starts to like crack and give way underneath them. That's sort of the energy of the fault line. So some sort of big change has either happened or is about to happen. That's gonna sort of change everything forever. I feel like this with this maiden card here, I feel like the maiden is kind of virginal energy. It's a feminine energy who hasn't had much experience through life yet. And I'm not trying to call you like someone who hasn't seen or experienced life, but you could have sort of had this mindset of not immaturity, but like just not having had the experiences that you needed to really grow and evolve into, you know, a queen or the empress per se. Like, I feel like you went into this connection kind of like, you know, you just went heart first, I want to say. Like, this connection made you feel maybe like you were, you know, young again. Not to say that you're not young now, but like, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet. Like, Juliet was definitely a maiden. She was somebody who hadn't really experienced much life yet, but she met Romeo, right? And she knew he was the one. And through him, with him, you know, she went through all of these experiences that changed her outlook on the world, the way she viewed things. And, you know, so I feel like this was you kind of going into this connection. You were Juliet and your person was Romeo, or, you know, switch the roles if you identify more with Romeo. Again, I'm not gendering any of my readings. I love everybody, and I'm talking more about energetic things than, you know, male or female, which, whatever, we don't have to get into that. But With this fault line card, I feel like going through this connection, like all the other cards that came out were saying, was an initiatory experience for you. Something had to give with this fault line, and with the mirror here coming out in reverse, but the mirror, I feel like this person reflected back to you the wounds that you were still kind of holding on to, perhaps from your childhood as well, with the Maiden card here. I'm going to read the mirror because I want to see what it talks about when it comes up in reverse. But the Maiden and the fault line, those are pretty much, that's pretty much the energy I'm getting from these cards. Like, this was a connection, like, again, a tower moment. This again reminds me of that thunderbolt looking thing that we saw on the storm card. It's like this crack had to happen, this fault had to give, something had to give in order for you to kind of like be able to take a closer look at your own woundings and your own shadows here and mature out of this Maiden energy and step into your Emperor, Empress, Queen, King energy. Again, whatever resonates the most for you. I'm going to look at this mirror card here. $50, $65, $68. Here we go. The mirror. So the reflection, the illusion, the looking glass. We look into mirrors every day without recognizing them as portals into another realm. They can shatter, flatter, distort, reflect, and project an image back to us that we deem to be true. The energy of the mirror is all about self-perception. When the archetype of the mirror appears, we are in the mythic land of Narcissus, who saw himself reflected in a pool and fell in love with his own image. Twin flame, mirrored souls. You know, the Maiden, when it said Narcissus in here, it made me think of this, of the Maiden. Anyway. So compelled by his reflection in this situation, you know, your mirrored soul, he could not turn away, a fixation that eventually led to his death. In this case for you, an ego death, thankfully. Recognize the power and danger of the mirror. It is a construct, one that may drive a shard between you and your true self. The mirror contains trickster energy. Put the phone down, stop with the comparisons. So if you're, you know, stalking your person's Instagram or anything of that nature, you know, put the phone down. Don't do that to yourself. Stop with the comparisons and let the mirror stand empty for a while. Rest with the one inside of it. So, and that makes me think of that judge sort of crossing energy. So maybe you are very much in a sort of judgy kind of vibe right now when you need to be looking at your own reflections and not just projecting all of the blame onto this other person. Obviously something happened here that changed your view of them or changed your view of how the connection is transpiring or was transpiring. Something broke here with the fault line. But I think, you know, it's forced you to look at yourself, or is trying to force you to look at yourself and maybe, you know, again, grow out of this Maiden energy and into Queen, Emperor, King, Empress. Again, however you identify the most. So yeah, when dark, it says narcissism, comparison, and harsh edges. Tough critic, that judge energy. But yeah, so I feel like, you know, this connection was a mirror for you and maybe kind of exposed kind of the darker sides of yourself. But it was all to sort of kind of shake you out of this Maiden energy to help you grow and evolve and ascend and mature. And I don't think there was any way you could have avoided this fault line from appearing. So don't blame yourself, is what I'm also trying to say with that. I do want to look at the fault line now that I have touched it, and I promise we're going to keep going in just a minute. XL, okay. So the fault line, the fissure, the crack, the weak link. Imagine walking across a frozen lake that begins to crack before your eyes. That's so funny. I did not know that it said that in here. Or if I did, then I forgot. So that what I said earlier. Anyway, no coincidences. Remember that. No matter how optimistic and brave you might be, panic ensues. You become fearful and tense and long for stable ground. Such is the energy of the fault line. It's the energy of walking on eggshells, of precarious dynamics. So somebody not meeting you where you're at, push and pull, that sort of vibe. Of sensing what is ready to break open into chaos, the storm. Anyway, it's likely this cracking open is overdue, as fault lines develop slowly and naturally from underlying elemental pressures. This card comes as a potent warning not to deny the shakiness that's afoot. It's much better to prepare yourself for change than to walk along the fault line pretending all is well. There is no easy fix for the situation at hand. It will require a foundational shift that alters the current dynamics from the ground up. See, aren't we glad I read that? I'm glad I read that. Now it makes me want to look at the maiden. I'm sorry, friends. People who this is for, you know, at this point we're almost 40 minutes in, and you'll know if you've made it this far. So yeah, the maiden, the virgin, the princess, the innocent, like I said. So the maiden archetype is the epitome of innocent arousal, naive sensuality, and precarious purity. She is compelling and addictive because of her flawless and youthful glow. She's the first archetype in the trifecta of maiden, mother, crone, and rightfully so, because she has oh so much to learn. What was I saying? The maiden is perfectly positioned for trouble to come her way and subject her to a challenge that leads to the next phase of womanhood. She must grow up, yet hesitates at the threshold, enamored by the charms of youth. The maiden represents the side of us that is riveted and curious, drawn to shadowy forests, dark nights, and taking just one taste of poisonous fruit. So, like, I get the sense that you're just the type of person who's in love with the idea of love and is somebody who would willing to take a risk to have it. But you got to grow up past this and start using your discernment when it comes to who you let in your space and into your energy. The maiden represents a side of us that is riveted and curious. Oh, I said that already. Her magic is edgy and includes both shame and delight. Let yourself fall down the rabbit hole, young one. So yeah. So this connection was meant to force your I always have trouble saying this. Your maturation helped you it was here to help you grow and mature through experiencing chaos and you know, heartache, to help you look at your own reflection and see the things that you've been holding on to perhaps from your childhood that have kind of kept you from growing up in that way. Like, just because, like, learning to take your rose-colored glasses off is what I'm getting from spirit as well. So yeah, that's the overarching energy, Libra. I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna pull an animal card. We're gonna try to speed through these next few things, but anyway, what's on the bottom here? The moth. So this is very maiden energy, somebody who's attracted to light, somebody who kind of flits around to the next kind of shiny thing, and doesn't give themselves long enough to stay in one place at one time in order to kind of experience the fullness of it. So very maiden energy to me, honestly. So what else do we have for our Libra spirit? We have the cheetah. So this is divine masculine energy. This is somebody who's stepping into their power and going after the things that they want. Not letting anything kind of stand in the way anymore. Um, I'm getting overcoming obstacles with this card as well. Just the way this cheetah is kind of like, it looks like he's running for sure, but it looks like he's leaping, um, like leaping over obstacles. But anyway, I get the sense that you're trying to take your power back with this cheetah card as well. What else do we have, Spirit, for our Libras? We have the fish. And I saw the tarantula poking out here too, and the owl. Goodness. Okay, so the fish is somebody, again, like the moth, somebody who's very easily distracted, somebody who kind of goes with the flow, but again, never stays in one place for too long. So you could be somebody who, I'm not trying to call you out, but with the moth and the fish here, this could be somebody who's a little flighty, who isn't one to, who isn't used to being tied down, I want to say. Somebody who kind of like easily, because fish have short-term memories, like you could be very, forgetful at times, or just sort of like, I'm saying like not, I'm getting like not paying attention to your surroundings very much. Very maiden energy again, like ending up in the middle of a dark forest, not knowing how you got there, but knowing that how you got there was fun, like you enjoyed the process of getting there, but now you're stuck in the middle of this forest and you don't really know which way to go. So yeah, I mean, with this moon here, you could also be somebody who's very in touch with their intuition here, kind of who moves off their feelings is what I'm getting as well. Let's get one more. The beaver. So this is somebody who is very much focused on building up foundations. I just saw 4141, so look up that number. But yeah, somebody who's interested in building up foundations, and like somebody who is attentive to their family. So you could be close to your family, or, perhaps you want to build a family of your own someday, is what I'm getting as well. Excuse me. Confirmation burps. But yeah, I feel like you're very much focused on trying to build up your foundations right now. And again, this cheetah's come up a couple times in these cuts, like very focused on taking action and like, again, overcoming obstacles. Fire is the element of transformation and change. We have the gazelle here, somebody who's very beautiful and graceful. But there could be a sense of fear here too, maybe fear of letting go. With the tarantula and the owl, this is like you're at a crossroads here, and you need to kind of make a choice to like follow your life path. With all that energy we were seeing in this other deck about, stepping into your sort of divine purpose. That's what this card is calling you to do too. And with the owl here, you could very much be somebody who's meant to be a spiritual teacher or a mentor. You could be very in touch with your intuition, somebody who's very wise. I think the owl also talks about a spiritual boon, which is like a reward or something to help you through the next phase of this journey, like from spirit, is on its way to you. So yeah, keep tapping into that intuition, step into that leader, teacher role, whatever it may be for you. But you need to make that choice to do so, and go after the things that you want here. Don't let obstacles get in your way. Divine masculine energy. All right, so let's get one now for our Libras. Please, Spirit, what do you have for us for our Libras? Their energy right now when it comes to this connection. Okay. Ooh, got two. Stingray and the oyster. So the stingray talks about growing a backbone, growing a spine, learning to stand up for yourself. And with the oyster here, you got two water cards. So I feel like you've been very much in your feelings lately. You could have water placements in your chart. So what is that? Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. You could have those placements in your chart. But I feel like you're very withdrawn right now from maybe the world around you. you know, your friends, this person. But I feel like, you know, underneath everything, you are going through this sort of big transformation. This oyster is in the middle of creating a pearl. So I feel like this is like solitude. So like you're taking a step back from everything, everyone right now, but it's so you could focus on, again, your own healing and growth that perhaps this connection triggered in you. And I think, you know, one thing you're working on with this stingray energy is learning to stand up for yourself, learning to grow a spine here. And if you look, you know, you have all these chakras sort of lit up with this stingray. So I feel like, again, this connection was sort of like a Kundalini awakening for you, an ascension process for you. But yeah, working on something, developing something that maybe is taking some time or maybe will take some time, but that is going to be beautiful in the end with that oyster. Yeah, and the beaver showed up again. So very focused on building yourself back up is what I'm hearing. Okay, so now we're going to look at more of what's been going on with this connection. Ooh, look, decisions, hot and cold, multiple choices. So I feel like in this connection, it was very hot and cold. This person that you're dealing with was in and out a lot. They could have made you feel like an option here. What else do we have? What's been going on in this connection for our Libras? Yep, heart fog, mixed signals, blocked emotions, and messed up. So I get the sense that this person, yeah, was sending you mixed signals. I felt like they were blocked from feeling their own emotions. And, you know, they feel like they messed up something good here by, you know, falling into this hot and cold dynamic. And this dynamic can be addictive for the anxiously attached person. I watched Divine Empress Tarot 333. She's one of my favorites and a big inspiration for me. But dang, what was I even going to say about that? Oh, she says that these sorts of dynamics are like sitting at a slot machine. Like, you know, you sit there waiting and like wasting your money, hoping that you'll win, right? And it's like that feeling of if you get up and leave that machine, somebody else is going to come sit down and pull that lever and hit the jackpot. So you could have held on to this connection for a long time, waiting to hit that jackpot, but it eventually got to a point where something had to give here. Yeah. So let's see what else wants to come out for this connection for our Libras. What's been going on in this connection, Spirit, for our Libras? Family. So this could have been somebody you saw. Well, you know what? Let me get these cards first, and then we'll talk about them. What else for our Libra, Spirit? What's been going on in this connection for our Libras? That one didn't want to come out. Thank you, Spirit. Pride, arrogance, ego, stubborn. So somebody's ego could have definitely gotten in the way here. Could have been dealing, I know this is not a lion, but it makes me think of one. So you could have been dealing with a Leo, or just somebody who had a really, you know, strong ego. So the first card that came out was family. So this could have been somebody that you just kind of felt at home with sort of instantly, is what I'm getting from this. Somebody could have also been afraid of like their family's opinions of this connection. I see parenthood here too. So maybe they were afraid of, you know, what their parents would think of this connection. What else do we have? Exhaustion, depleted, drained, and long journey. So yeah, I feel like however this dynamic has played out, it's, you know, been playing out for quite some time. And I think, you know, with everything that we've seen so far, that this connection just finally hit a point of no return. And you know, you're absolutely exhausted and drained from just having this constant back and forth, you know, pulling that lever at that slot machine. We have abandoned here, left out, walked away. So yeah, somebody here definitely walked away and left probably you feeling abandoned. I'm also getting again with these two, like, activating old family wounds here. We have confessions. So unveiling, coming clean, and messages. So I feel like somebody needs to come clean here about something that took place. Probably about whatever this tower moment was about or is about. We have cloudy judgment, illusions, unbalanced, distorted. So yeah, I feel like this connection was just very unbalanced here. You could have been dealing with a distorted masculine. I don't think this is spelled right, but that's neither here nor there. And you could have been caught up in the illusions, you know, as a maiden would be, you know, caught up in the feelings and not really seeing the truth of the situation. And then we have time. So waiting, cycles, and moments. So I feel like, yeah, this is just a cycle that had played out one too many times. And I feel like you were waiting for change to happen, to take place, but it never really did. And I feel like you just kind of got to a point where you were tired of repeating a cycle, exhausted, I'll say, of repeating a cycle that didn't seem to be going anywhere. I feel like you were very patient with this person, but they activated your kind of core abandonment wounds, and you know, they need to come clean with you about something here. But yeah, the connection was unbalanced, and you guys were just kind of falling into this cycle again and again and again and again. And maybe you tried to have talk with this person and be like, you know, establish some boundaries for yourself and be like, hey, you know, you did this, you've done this, and you know, I need to see you change if you want to keep, you know, wanting to mess with me. I don't mean it in that way, but like, if you want to continue to take part in this connection, like, I need you to step up. Maybe you guys had a conversation about that, and instead of actually stepping up and doing what they were supposed to, they stayed stuck in their illusions and felt it was easier to just walk away than, you know, actually do the work to make this fair, make this balanced. Okay, so we're going to pull from one more oracle deck, and then we're going to get into tarot, I promise. This one we're just going to zhuzh through. I was trying to find the right word. And just see what comes out. This is a career and love oracle deck, so anything could come out. And we'll see. Maybe nothing will come out. What else do we have for our Libra spirit? Anything else that we need to know for our Libras? Memories. Communication. Loyalty. Okay, cool. See, look, kept it simple. All right, so memories came out first. So it says here you were reflecting on past love experiencing, cherishing the warmth and lessons from previous relationships. I will say when it came out, it did flip into the reverse, which I feel like is more apt for this. So it says you may be dwelling too much on past memories, missing out on the present and future opportunities for love. Either way, I feel like you are. I feel like this is, since this did pop out in reverse and I flipped it back up to look at it, I feel like this message is probably more pertinent also with everything else that we've been seeing. So you're kind of like stuck remembering all the good times, and Spirit is saying, you know, you might be dwelling too much on the past, and the past is also not the truth of who this person was. It was your perception, your illusion of who this person was, because they weren't showing up in the energy that you needed them to. They weren't meeting you where you were. We have communication here. So these messages, you can really either take them or leave them. But I feel like, you know, communication was a big thing, like what I was just talking about with this confessions card. Maybe you tried to have a conversation with this person and tried to work something out here. But I feel like even if you were able to express your thoughts and feelings clearly, like it says here, that, you know, you weren't really received in the way that you were hoping for. And with loyalty here, I feel like you do still feel drawn and connected to this person. You do still feel loyalty. So I feel like you haven't completely let this person go. But what else? Like, you're gonna, what else? Okay. It says loyalty is a cornerstone of your relationship, and it should be in any relationship. If you feel like you're with somebody you can't really trust, then why are you with them? I feel like, you know, you and this person still feel this attachment to each other. But loyalty isn't enough all by itself. You know what I'm saying? You need to be able to have open and honest communication. I also get that maybe there's communication incoming from this person. You know, take that for what it is. This person may want to get back into your good graces here at some point soon. We'll be able to know more with tarot in a second. But yeah, so caught up in memories, but maybe not seeing things as clearly as they were. Maybe you still are looking at things through rose-colored glasses, or you're just kind of, it's like Six of Cups in reverse, like stuck in the past a little bit. I feel like, again, you try to communicate or want to communicate with this person. I feel like you did communicate, especially with this confessions. I feel like you tried to have a conversation with this person and kind of air out your grievances. But instead of stepping up to the plate, again, they left you hanging. They walked away. But that doesn't take away the feeling that you have for them, of loyalty, of wanting to be committed to them. And, you know, if this is a twin flame divine counterpart connection, was kind of par for the course. It's to help awaken that agape that we saw, that unconditional love. You can love somebody to the moon and back, but you can't love them into healing. You know, sometimes love by itself isn't enough. And if this person isn't willing to do the work at this time, or, you know, maybe ever, who knows? But if they're not willing to do that work, to step up and meet you where you're at, then it doesn't matter how much you love them. That's a lesson I had to learn myself recently. Sadly, love just isn't always enough. Jiminy. Excuse me. All right, my friends. We're finally going to move into tarot. We're going to look at your energy, your person's energy, what's between you, what's coming next. And, you know, if we can think of anything else, maybe a card of advice. So what do we have here? We have the King of Swords. So I feel like there's definitely boundaries in place here. Somebody seeing things clearly. This might be you. I feel like all of this, you know, energy is stuff that's happened recently. But right now you kind of are in your power. Maybe you are kind of a little standoffish and, you know, kind of cold toward this person right now. But I feel like you have your boundaries up and you are trying to, again, with that cheetah, kings are also divine masculine energy in the tarot. So taking your power back is what I'm getting here. I saw 5858 on the timer just then. All right, thank you, Spirit. Can we please look at our Libra person's energy right now when it comes to this connection? Our Libra viewers' energy right now when it comes to this connection. All right. This is the Magic Maker's Tarot, by the way. I just got it. And a bunch of other decks that I'm excited to do readings with. But you guys will be the first one I use this deck for, so yay! Libra viewers' energy, please. Ten of Cups. Aw. So I feel like this is somebody you saw happily ever after with. You saw a happy, harmonious relationship. You saw, yeah, like a true love here. Again, I feel like you see this person as your sort of happily ever after here. Still have this sense of loyalty to them. What else do we have, Spirit, for our Libra person's energy? For our Libra viewers' energy toward this connection, Spirit. Eight of Swords, but it came out in reverse. So the Eight of Swords upright is all about sort of being stuck in your mind, like a mental prison of your own creation. You can see this person's string. They are some sort of like magic weaver or something, but they've gotten caught up in their web. But this card came up in reverse, which is sort of like freeing yourself from mental prisons. Like this is a trap that you have the freedom to get yourself out of. And I feel like with this coming up in reverse, that's exactly what you're doing, especially with that King of Swords energy that popped up on the bottom that we just saw. Like, I'm seeing that king sort of using his sword to cut these strings loose. So I feel like you kind of are freeing yourself from the trap of feeling like this person was your happily ever after. Like I was saying, like sometimes love just isn't enough. And I feel like what you're doing now is you're freeing yourself from that blockage of like, I'm getting the sense of like, you know, if I can't have this person, like I won't have anybody. And that's sort of like self-sabotage in a way. But I feel like you're starting to get to a place where you're releasing yourself from that way of thinking. Even if this person, even if you did see happily ever after with them, you're not going to keep yourself tied down to a situation that isn't reciprocal, that isn't harmonious, that, you know, if somebody's not going to meet you where you're at, you know, why should you have to sit around and wait for them? Let's get some for your person now. How is your, oh, we got a couple. I'm not going to take all of these, but Six of Cups. Woo! So I feel like they're definitely thinking about you still. Seven of Cups. This is about emotional overwhelm, feeling they could have made you feel like an option here is what I'm hearing too, but somebody who's feeling emotionally overwhelmed by the choices that they have in front of them. We have the Page of Wands, so somebody who's still very much focused on you and attracted to you, and the King of Swords here too. So they're also still kind of standing on guard. Could be somebody who's not very in touch with their emotions at all, and you know is very logical in the way that they approach life. But I still feel like they could be younger than you too with this page here, but I feel like they do still feel this kind of draw towards you. I don't know what's going on with my throat. You guys, you could be having communication issues is what I'm getting. Let's try that again, please, Spirit. Our Libra viewers person, their energy that they're in right now when it comes to this connection. We just saw a bunch, but we're going to try to get some more concrete ones. Our Libra viewers person's energy, the person they're connected to, please, Spirit. What is their energy right now? The World. So I feel like they have also kind of reached the end of a cycle here. We were talking about it a bunch in the beginning, you know, the Fool to the World, the Anima Mundi for you guys, or for the connecting energy. So I feel like, you know, this was a lesson to both of you. This unicorn here, and in the animal spirit deck, the unicorn talks about awakening to divinity. So I feel like this person is completing a cycle here, and they're starting to awaken as well to divinity here. A spiritual awakening of sorts after having learned some sort of important lesson. What else do we have, Spirit, for our Libra viewers person? Libra viewers person, the person they're connected to. King of Swords again. So this is the third time this has popped up. So I feel like this person, you know, is kind of maturing in a sense. We saw that page just a minute ago, and now we see this king again for the third time. But this is somebody who, again, is very logical, somebody who is in some ways probably emotionally avoidant. They value logic over feeling. And so, you know, they could be holding back from you because they don't know how to express their feelings to you in a way that like doesn't expose them, if that makes sense. But I think again they are growing and they are leveling up. They are having this sort of spiritual awakening with this unicorn here. So I feel like there's a lot of mirroring going on here between the two of you. Yeah, we have the Hangman too. So this is like a divine pause and surrender. Somebody who is gaining new perspectives here. So I feel like they're starting to see things differently here. But it's coming through, you know, I'm getting that obviously you guys are in some sort of separation here. But yeah, they're starting to gain new perspectives on things. Ooh, yeah, they're learning spiritual lessons with the mentor here. This is the Hierophant energy. So learning spiritual lessons through this connection. Awakening. All right, thank you, Spirit. So what is the connecting energy between these two? What is the connecting energy here between our Libra and their person? Connecting energy, please, Spirit, for our Libra and their person. Connecting energy between our Libra viewer and their person. Queen of Wands. Ooh. So, a lot of passion still here. This is fire energy. For connecting energy, this is interesting. It's like you guys are still pulled to each other. You guys are still like magnetized to each other. There's this sense of like you both being just like the Queen of Wands herself is like a magnetic person. She's full of charisma. She's full of charm. She's warm. She's inviting. And people, when she enters a room, people look at her. So I feel like there is this sense of like, perhaps this is how you make each other feel, is what I'm getting to. Like, very much, you know, like you light each other up, is what I'm getting here. But with this card, again, I get the sense that you guys are still very much drawn and magnetized to each other. Like, in the same way that people can't look away from the Queen of Wands when she enters a room, like you guys aren't really able to look away from each other in that sense. You know what I mean? So what is currently blocking this person, our Libra viewer's person, from taking action right now? What is blocking our Libra viewer's person from taking action? What is blocking our Libra viewer's person? What is blocking our Libra viewer's person? What is blocking them right now? What is currently blocking our Libra viewer's person, Spirit? Very specific card wants to come out. Seven of Wands, they have their boundaries up. That's kind of what I was getting with the King of Swords too. 110 on the timer just then. So this person still has their guard up. They still have their boundaries up. And I feel like with the King of Swords, they're not really quite ready to take them down, even though, you know, they do kind of feel this sort of spiritual connection with you. They're not letting, they're letting their mind stay in control here. They're not letting their heart guide the way. They're learning a lesson for sure here with the world. I do feel like they are starting to awaken again with that unicorn there, but it's like they're still holding back. They're not ready to let their guard down. And then the Four of Wands here too. I feel like they feel like their sense of stability is kind of threatened by this connection. Perhaps it just kind of pulls them off their center. They're not used to feeling strong emotions since they're showing up as the King of Swords, and I feel like they do kind of feel at home with you, but they're afraid of 11111 on the timer just then. But they're just not ready to let their guard down in that way, even though they do kind of feel at home with you. All right, thank you, Spirit. What is coming next in this connection for our Libra and their person? What is coming next in this connection? My throat is closing up like crazy right now. Major communication blockages. What is coming next in this connection? What is coming next in this connection for our Libras? What is coming next in this connection? Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles is about long-term investment. So I feel like what's coming next is you sort of contemplating where you invest your energy and if it's something that's going to give you a return. This could be this person coming back and like wanting to plant the seed of something stable, wanting longevity. But I feel like they have a lot of work to do to lower their guard and again start leading from their heart and not their head here. We're gonna get another one. Can we get another one for what's coming next, please, Spirit? The Seven of Pentacles. What else do we have for what's coming next? For what's, ooh, this one's crossing. The Eight of Wands. So somebody trying to figure out how to move this connection forward. Eight of Wands is a fast forward movement and momentum change, but it's coming out crossing, and we talked about crossing cards earlier. This is energy somebody's consciously grappling with. So I feel like what's coming next is somebody's trying to figure out how to move this connection forward and figure out how to invest in this long term. So that's what's coming next in the connection. What is this person's next actions towards our Libra, please, Spirit? What is our viewer's person's next actions towards them? What is our viewer's person's next actions towards them? Knight of Pentacles. This is slow, so slow, steady progress, slow, steady growth. In the traditional tarot, the Knight of Pentacles is the only knight who isn't really moving at all. So I feel like this person is making changes. They are just slow, 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 slow. So I feel like with the Seven of Pentacles, this is also saying to have patience if you want this connection to work. I feel like you are trying to like kind of free yourself from the emotional trap. Oh God, I didn't mean to flick you off. Trap of, you know, being stuck in this mindset where you're waiting around for this happily ever after. I feel like you are freeing yourself from waiting around for it. But your person is making changes. It's just very, very slow, and sometimes it might seem like they're not making much change at all. But this knight is very slow and steady wins the race. So if you have the patience to wait with the Seven of Pentacles, if you really want this person, you really want this connection to work out with this person, you know, I do see that they're making changes here. I feel like they will be grappling again with how to move this connection forward. But I feel like it is going to take some patience on your end, because the change they're going through is very slow, again, with the Knight of Pentacles here. All right, thanks, Spirit. Can we get a card of advice for our Libra viewer? What should they be focusing on right now? A card of advice for our Libras. Card of advice for our Libras, please, Spirit. Knight of Swords also crossing. Figure out how to be honest and, excuse me, confirmation burp. My goodness. Figure out how to be direct and honest with this person. If they haven't been meeting you where you need them to, you need to, you know, not be afraid to express that truth to them. Don't be afraid to make decisive choices. Don't be afraid of having to cut this person off either. I'm getting with that sword here. But, and with these little dragons here, the dragon in the animal spirit deck is about seeing beyond the ego. So I feel like this card is saying, like, don't let your ego or your pride sort of get in the way of expressing truth and honesty and getting accountability from this person. But I feel like with this card, it's crossing, it's Spirit saying you need to kind of figure out how you can be direct and honest with this person without giving up too much of your own power here. Like, don't let this person continue to walk all over you and you don't express what you need. So express what you need. Figure out a healthy way for you to express what you need. Could be hard if you're an overgiver. If you're somebody who's anxiously attached, you know, we're used to sort of, I'm saying we because I'm one of you. But, you know, we kind of make ourselves seem smaller in order to, like, we sort of walk on eggshells, like with this fault line, in order to kind of try to prevent this person or your person, our people, from leaving us. But what good does that do when they end up leaving us anyway? You know what I'm saying? So if they are an avoidant type, they're likely to just pull away without really giving much conscious thought to the fallout from it. So Spirit's advice for you is, again, learn how to express your truth and your desires and communicate them in a way where you know that you're being heard. And if this person can't rise to meet you, you know, free yourself, which is what you're doing, like free yourself from this loop of waiting around forever hoping something will change. It won't change if you don't make it change. So yeah. Ooh, yes. And lean into your divine feminine energy. You know, you are an empress. So don't settle for no page energy or any knight energy even. You know, the empress only waits around for her emperor because she knows he's going to always show up and be accountable for who he cares about. So yeah, lean into your divine feminine energy. I don't chase, I attract. That's your mantra. All right, friends. We're going to get one final piece of advice for you from the wisdom of the Oracle Spirit deck, and then we will leave it here. If you watched to the end of this, hello, hi, thank you for being here. I hope this reading helped you. Consider liking and commenting and subscribing, or checking out your other placements if you want to get some more, like a fuller picture of everything. You know, check out your sun, and or this is probably your sun, or your moon and your rising, your Venus. There may be messages for you in there. But yeah, we're going to just end this reading with a piece of advice for you from this deck. Ooh, did I pick it up upside down? I think I did. So on the bottom we have Yang. This is divine masculine energy. This is that cheetah energy. This is going for the things that you want. Now's the time to take action on your own goals, on your own plans, on your own life purpose here. And then we have all that glitters. All that glitters isn't gold, my friend. Somebody has been wearing a mask here, and it might seem pretty on the outside, but once you take that mask off, you're gonna see them for who they are. So don't let all the shiny stuff distract you from what's underneath that mask. You know, the rose-colored glasses, don't keep them on. Every maiden has to go through the life cycle, you know, mature into the mother and then the crone. So yeah, don't keep those rose-colored glasses on. All right, thank you, Spirit. Can we get one final piece of advice for our Libra viewer? Final piece of advice, please, for our Libra viewer. Final piece of advice, please, Spirit, for our Libras. Nothing? I'm going to try one more time. Spirit's like, you already got advice for them. Yeah, well, I want another piece. One more piece of advice, please, Spirit. One more card. For our Libra viewer, a piece of advice. Look at that. Yes, that's so funny. Spirit was like, yeah, I already told you. Use this time to embrace your divine masculine energy. Like, yes, you are the Empress. Yes, the Empress doesn't chase, she attracts. And I'm not saying to take action toward this connection right now. I'm saying to take action on the things that you want in your life. Like building your foundations with that beaver. Like, now's the time to embody the, how can I phrase this? Like, the outward focused energy. When it comes to building your own life, it's time to take action on your goals and your desires and your dreams. Exchanging gifts. Yeah, I feel like, again, with that light worker energy, or like waking up to your divine purpose, I feel like you are meant to, in a way, be somebody who exchanges energy with others, like in a sort of mentor kind of role. This is all about exchanging energies with others in order to make each other better. Yeah, I see that you're between worlds right now. Again, 3, Empress energy again. But yeah, right now it's okay to exist in the liminal space here. You're not fully in this era yet, and you haven't fully left this behind yet. You're sort of in the middle of stepping into your power here. So it's important that you keep focusing on how you show up in the world and how you go after the things that you want to build for yourself. But I feel like it has to do with exchanging gifts with people, exchanging your energy with people, in order to help you and other people continue to grow and evolve and change. Oops. Second time that's happened. But see, that tower was a little less crazy. All right, so 1, yang. So, the masculine principle of movement and creative activity. That's what I was trying to say. The power to make things happen and taking action. So the oracle's message here is yang represents the power of actions, the energies that propel the world forward, and manifesting thought and desire into concrete form. Now is the perfect time to act, for you can easily build momentum and make headway. What you want will come to fruition if you proceed confidently. This card signifies new life and is a sure sign that obstacles have been overcome. There is no reason to hesitate. You are the shaper of your destiny now. I'll read the relationship message too, since this has been a love reading. So it says, circumstances are supporting action on your part. It's okay to make the first move. Trust that you will quickly know where you stand. I feel like you kind of already do. I feel like you've tried to do this already, and now you know where you stand. But in matters of the heart, there is movement towards your highest good. So ultimately, all of this is for your highest good. The drama, the trauma, the pain, like it's helped you grow and evolve into, like, out of this maiden energy again and into, you know, that empress that we just saw. The empress that's right here still looking at me, looking at you. But yeah, so go forth with assurance. Passion is in the air, and now is the time to dance to the tune of love. Take the lead. But again, you know, I feel like you've done this already. You've tried to take the lead in this. But the message from before, you know, trust that. It's time to take action on your goals, your dreams, your visions that you have for yourself. And, you know, don't continue to chase this person. Don't make the first move. I think the message that needed to come out from that little section that we just read is that, you know, everything that's been happening is for your highest good ultimately. But now is your time to, you know, take the reins, take control of your situation and start building the life for yourself that you know you deserve. And if this person is meant to come back, they will in their own timing. But again, it's going to be slow with that Knight of Pentacles that we saw. So instead of sitting around and waiting for them and, you know, being stuck in your own head, free yourself from this cycle and start putting all that energy that you've been pouring into this person into you and your goals and your dreams. And yeah, build the life that you know you deserve for yourself. Embrace your mission. All right, my friends, that is your reading for today. I appreciate you for being here if you made it this long. And if not, you know, whatever. This message will find who it needs to when it needs to. So I am sending you guys so much love and light, and we will see you in the next one. All right, take care.